Kingy, your first crack, balance sheet.
Yeah.
Your balance sheet's got a lot of zeros. Maybe we'll call it score profiles.
They're at the wrong end. That's the problem, Dicko. I just want to have a look at the last 6 weeks because we talk a lot about how teams are going and what they're doing and the specifics of how they're playing. In the end, it realises itself in the balance sheet. What you're scoring versus your opponent in clearance and what you're scoring versus your opponent in turnover. Now, that can be ball movement and all the things you've just spoken about, Joey. So on the left there, you can see the turnover battle. So the Pies, last 6 weeks, plus 155 points on their opponents, clearly number one. On the clearance side of it, that number for the Dogs, plus 196. I haven't seen a number like that for a 6 week.
Is it sustainable? You've been on it a lot. Is this something that they can sustain?
I think they can, and it'll have to buck history. But just have a look at the rest of them. You can see, right down the bottom there, GWS Giants minus 20 goals on clearance. Last 6 weeks. Now, that's a problem. We'll get to that in a moment. But I think this is one of the most open races I've seen in a long time. I hear everyone say, Collingwood are that far in front, Brisbane are that far in front. But if you look at Brisbane, turnover game, it's around about average. Their clearance game's really strong. We know they had a staggering sort of start to the season, but this is just the last 6 weeks. Hawthorn's number is a little bit better than what we probably expect. The Dogs on turnover still really strong, even though they've lost a couple of those games. So I think there's something for everyone there amongst the top 8 teams. So the rankings on the left, I've just done the finalists, or the top 8 teams at the moment, and you can see 1 through to 11 on the left there and all the way down to 18 on the right. So something for everyone.
And just simply to break it down, roughly this season, 60% of your score comes from turnovers and 40% clearances. So that's the break. So you want to be really strong in that turnover game.
You prefer to be better on the left column there than the right, but you sort of got to be capable in both. Really.
Yep. And the Suns on the right, Kingy, just from a clearance perspective, what Dimmer's inherited.
Yeah, an asset that he probably hasn't had before, so that's just above, it's AFL 9th. So I think he would like that to be stronger, given the talent in there and the investment in there. And then again, plus 25.6 is a pretty good result, but I think he'd like more out of that as well. So I'm looking at the Suns thinking there's so much growth here. And I think it'll come post-bye because they've been a team that have come a long way in a short space of time that are probably now feeling a little bit of pressure because they're being scanned and assessed more than they've ever been. So there's challenges that come with that, which we're seeing at Hawthorn. So it's just a full stop on the last 6 weeks to give you an idea where your team sits.
Joey, who are you backing there? Are you sticking with the Pies on that?
The Pies, the Dogs' form was obviously, even though they're not getting the win. So that's the one. People are going, well, they're 6 and 5. Where are they sitting? The profile says that if they keep playing this way, they're going to bank more wins than losses on the run home. So that's what we try and do. We try and look at the profile to almost predict a little bit more about where teams are at. It might not happen straight away. I've had the skids on Giants for about a month, and that's coming true with their ability at the clearance game in particular.
Crows, don't sleep on the Crows.
That's the next one I was going to bring up.
Sleep on the Crows. I mean, that's a pretty strong profile, and I think it'll get better as the year rolls on.
All right, well, I'm going to introduce my own crack here, boys.
Yes. What's your crack?
I don't normally do a crack, but Ross Lyon's comments, we know it's been well publicised, and just sitting back, I love what Ross does. I love his humour. I love, he brings a bit of quirkiness to it. And I know from a Saints perspective where they sit, so they came into the season, the 3rd youngest list. They bring in Boyd through the SSP, so it became the 5th youngest list going into the season. I know they're rebuilding. They're looking to top up with talent. But the messaging, I don't like the messaging and the way it was done over the weekend and has done in the past. Bassett at the BNF. If that's your strategy on how you want to fight and how you want to communicate to the public and the clubs, it's probably not the way I would go as a coach. And Ross has proven that he can build and he can build teams, and he's doing that. But just in that respect, it's just get to work. If you're selling a strategy and you're trying to recruit players to your club, it's got to be a destination club. Your messaging is so important. You hear Fly talk, you hear Mitch, you hear Dimmer, you hear Fags. When they talk, you believe, and everyone's watching. Players, potential players, even your current players might watch back. Your messaging is so clear in terms of where you want to go as a footy club. If potting the opposition before in terms of what he said and the Suns, who haven't played finals yet, and yes, they're going to play finals now, and I just think it's sour grapes, it's throw the toys out of the cot, and that's probably not Ross. And if that's your strategy, I just don't like it because we know they're in a rebuild. 2 years ago, 13 wins. Last year, 11 wins. They've only had 4 wins this year. And a lot of their senior players, like you can see in terms of their finishes. Now, the finishes are irrelevant when you're rebuilding, but you've got to be developing your players. You've got to bring your players along for the journey. And they're just inconsistent. Not saying they're terrible, But your top-end talent and your leaders have just dropped away a little bit. They've got to come along for the ride too. So it's about worrying and getting back to Dimmer's point, worry about your own backyard. Just get to work on the players. Get to work on the young players. Get your messaging right, because Wanganeen Millera hasn't signed with that footy club yet. So if you're selling the dream to him, why hasn't he signed? What doesn't he believe at that footy club?
Can you do both? Can you walk and chew gum at the same time?
In terms of potting other clubs?
In terms of looking outside and still working on inside your four walls?
Yeah, but throwing a hand grenade over the top before a game, if I was a Saints supporter watching it, I'm not a Saints supporter, and he said, chock full of talent, I'd be thinking he's put the white flag up and we're going to get completely rolled today. Now, they've got a tough 5 weeks coming up. When you look at it, look at their defence. That used to be Ross's backbone. 7-year low, like in terms of points against and turnover, getting punished. That used to be his strength. Like, concentrate on your strength. I'm not telling Ross how to coach, because he's a good coach and he's a proven coach. But this is the next 5. Like, they're tough games of football. Hawthorn after Fremantle. So, they could be sitting 4 and 12. Like, is that where you want to sit in a rebuild? And do you want to keep throwing hand grenades over at other opposition coaches and clubs about what they're getting and what not you're getting? I drive home through Toorak. I don't bitch and moan about, he's got a bigger mansion than me and he's inherited that. I just want to get to work and buy my own. So that's what the Saints have got to do.
Well, that's a whack, isn't it? So how many of those next 4 do you give him? What if he does win one of them? What if he does win two
knowing Ross, he's liable to win 1 or 2.
Isn't this a rallying of the troops? Isn't this something that can unite a fan base that probably needs a reason? They need something to attach to.
Well, I'll give you... It's not really uniting anyone. It's throwing mud, to be fair. If you want to fight, you fight with your language. You fight for the players. Like, Sauce and Gubby, you got a tough job.
They're fighting for their club. Yeah. They're fighting for their club, that they want fairness and an opportunity to try and rebuild properly and be a contender. And their feeling is the Northern Academies and the advantage that they get don't give St Kilda the opportunity. So they are trying to galvanise as a club. And they're saying, we're not going to stand for this anymore. They are ruffling feathers. That is their strategy. So Rossi's on board with that strategy of trying. And it does feel, and we are hearing there might be change with the way that the academies can be selected going forward. So that is their approach. Now, that's separate to the on-field numbers that you're showing, where they clearly have work to do. But they're certainly, no doubt, sticking up for their football club to be given a fair opportunity so that they can rebuild and try and win a flag that they want to do.
And what do you achieve from that? It's like the umpire. I can't change a decision. The whistle's blown.
But I think they have made change. I think by them speaking out and speaking out that there will be some change at the way that the academies, you can select the academy players. I think there will be.
So their noise has changed. The AFL's thinking on how the academy system...
It's contributed. I think it's contributed. I'm not sure it's the absolute reason, but...
No, but it's certainly...
if I'm a Saints supporter, I don't mind my boys flying the flag for our cause. I don't care about the rest. I'm happy to throw a little bit of mud. I don't care about their program.
As I said, I love Ross, the way he goes about it. He's quirky, but that one there...
Strong.
It's just get to work.